We have a busy week full of planetary transits. In this week's astrology, Venus enters Libra, giving us the urge to work on balancing our relationships. Mercury will transit into Sagittarius this week, which will enunciate the need to think from a higher perspective. And Mercury will make the most transits this week, giving us the urge to work on our communication skills and our thought processes. So the transits this week are very colorful, and the vibes on the graph are also giving off a varied tone. Opening up the week from the 6th to the 7th, emotional sensitivity will be present along with solitude, psychic vibes, imagination and confusion, and mental energy. Also, an abundance of good luck energy which will stretch out through the rest of the week. But with those other vibes, we might feel all over the place, causing us to be in our heads and also needing some space. Also, this can be a day where we're having more psychic hits than normal. We could feel more intuitive than normal. Romantic energy is also mixed in with this from the 6th to the 7th. So we might be picking up on things in that arena of life. Or with the mental energy, thinking about what our next steps is when it comes down to our love lives. Mental energy will continue all the way up until the 8th, along with that good luck vibe. The good luck vibes is the highest vibe on the graph, other than the solitude that we have on that Monday. But the cool thing is, with it mixed in with the mental energy, we could be thinking of ways where we need to take more opportunities in our life. We could put ourselves in positions that open us up to fortunate opportunities, and overall just helping us feel more optimistic about our future. By the time we get to the 9th, all the way up until the 12th, solitude energy will peak and valley and intersect ambitious vibes. And I have to say, based on the weekend, we may have moments where we fluctuate on that solitude energy, because there is some social energy that's coming up. Maybe not on the graph, but there's an alignment that could make us look for excitement and also be interested in interacting with others. Maybe not in the most constructive way, but nonetheless, there could be moments by the time we get to Sunday where we feel a little bit more social despite that solitude energy. So yeah, we're in for another interesting week. Let's look at these next bunch of days and see what we can expect. As a reminder, don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps this channel grow. And if you'd like to support the work of this channel, you could do so by buying me a fresh cup of coffee. There's a link in the description box below. Monday opens up with an alignment that could have us concentrating on our love lives. Venus is going to make a trine with Pluto, which could rev up the need for deep relationships. So a vibe like this could have us looking at ways we can transform our love lives. For this reason, we might be examining ways to bring better intensity into our love lives. Some of this could be about realizing that we need more than surface level chemistry. It could also be about realizing that we're the type that needs an all or nothing connection. So this could be a point of taking your love life more seriously. This could also be a point where we're realizing that we need more passion and intimacy within our unions, and realizing that we're the type that needs a deep connection when it comes down to bedroom antics. Also, an energy like this could have us looking at our finances in a way where we need to concentrate on transforming that area of life. So this could be a time to think of ways to transform anything to do with your finances and career situations. Tuesday brings in a harmonious alignment from Mercury to Neptune. Mercury and Neptune are going to be on a trine on the 7th, which could have us connecting to our mystical side. In an energy like this, we may be more focused on New Age activities, because a vibe like this promotes mental stimulation through spiritual practices. For this reason, it might be a day to get back in alignment. It may be a day where you're focusing on how to get connected with your higher self. And sometimes that can look like participating in metaphysical activities like meditation, energy work, playing with tarot, going out in nature to ground your energy. And if it's too cold to go out in nature, because in some places it's starting to get chilly outside, it could be about going to a crystal shop or even seeking out energy work from a practitioner. Another cool thing about this vibe is it promotes conversations that are on a mystical level and being more understanding of others. And if it's not that, it could be about connecting through music. It could be about connecting through poetry. Also, we may participate in activities like writing or losing ourselves in some good music. On the 8th, Venus enters its home sign of Libra. As we leave the analytical approach of Virgo, we shift to one that's more about relating to others. So now that we're shifting into a place where this planet can be more comfortable, we might feel a little bit more at ease when it comes down to the things that Venus governs. Of course, this planet's going to hit some snags with certain transits it's going to make, but for the most part, Venus is very comfortable here, so we might feel like we could let our hair down. I mean, when we think about it, it's been a very bumpy ride for this planet since June. This planet went into its pre-shadow, then it went into retrograde, retrograde and then it went into Virgo, where it's not in the most comfortable position and it's a little more restricted. But here we tend to take a more easygoing approach. Here in Libra, we tend to take a more peaceful approach. We focus on balancing our relationships, not just romantic, our one-on-one relationships, our close one-on-one relationships. Sure, the Libra energy is associated with romantic relationships, and of course that does come with the package of this. But an energy like this is about relating and creating healthy concessions when it comes down to others. We become more receptive to beauty and aesthetics, and how we can make things fair for everyone. We also become more interested in keeping the peace, meeting others halfway, and less concerned over winning an argument, less concerned over gaining a victory or the upper hand when it comes down to our situations, specifically relationships. So with such a collaborative tone, we may work on having more harmony in our close unions. Close unions could be friendships, close unions can be, of course, romantic partners, it could be close family members, it could be business partners, networking partners, and anybody else that you might collaborate with. When we focus on the romantic associations with the sign and Venus, it could be a time where we have the urge for a love connection. So the urge to get into a relationship may be more revved up than typical. If you're already in a committed union, this may be a time where you're feeling a sense of closeness with your partner and have the urge to do fun excursions with one another. Libra brings in a tone where we want to be swept off our feet, and so flirtation may be more revved up than normal or over-the-top displays of affection. So in some ways, it may feel like people are laying it on a little thick, buttering you up. Of course, I'm talking about the positive end of this. Of course, it does have a lower expression, but for the most part, an energy like this can make it easy to feel swept away when it comes down to love life concern. Coming back to the platonic side of this, we might feel more social than we have in the last few weeks. We're actually about to come into social territory with the signs that are coming up, with Mercury going into Sagittarius this week, and of course this Venus in Libra. But this might usher in a period where we're focused on our close unions. So the urge to make plans, go out, plan get-togethers, or just any excuse to hang out might be more revved up than normal. A lot of the times when we get to this Venus, we start focusing on how we adorn ourselves. Venus in Libra is about our aesthetic, and Venus has to do with how we dress ourselves. Overall, what kind of style that we like. And an energy like this may key up the need to splurge a little bit when it comes down to our wardrobe. So this might be a time to harmonize our looks so that way we have the right aesthetic. We could stumble on items that help us feel beautiful and make purchases of things that help us feel symmetrical. And that could have to do with hair, that could have to do with nails, our makeup, and overall just finding something that helps us look more sophisticated. Of course, there is a lower vibration as there is anytime a planet changes signs, and this is no different, even though it happens to be in a sign that it loves. So one thing to note, the South Node happens to be in Libra right now, and so Venus is going to connect with that South Node. And once we get to that point, it can help us release certain things that may be toxic and lower vibrational in Libra. So this might feel like a period where it's a little more karmic than normal. As harmonious as this pairing is, we have some things going on in Libra in its polar sign Aries. So anything connected with these two signs, or any of the cardinal signs for that matter, may feel more revved up and karmic than normal, especially when it comes down to the harder stuff. But looking at the regular schmegular lower vibrations, we need to be aware of superficiality when it comes down to our romantic situations and our close one-on-one unions, a tendency to be very indecisive when it comes down to our relationships, the areas of life where we people please because we want to keep the peace and we're not comfortable rocking the boat. And of course, something like that could lead to built up resentment, which also leads to petty behavior in terms of just being very passive aggressive rather than speaking up. Out of fear, it'll disrupt the harmony within your union. And the harder lessons within this energy is going to show us where we lack equilibrium when it comes down to anything Libra. So do the best you can to harmonize things in your life in any way you can. The 9th brings in a variety of transits that can have us feeling down one moment, but also looking for ways to transform our attitudes. The Sun's going to make a quincunx with Chiron, and this may help us realize what's zapping our confidence. And because this is a quincunx, it's going to highlight the areas where we lack self-awareness concerning how we feed our ego. Some of this could look like realizing that seeking outside approval isn't helping our self-esteem. Sometimes this could look like needing encouragement from others in order to get things done. And this can also show where self-doubt when it comes down to our persona and personality is keeping us small. So an energy like this can give us the nudge needed to work on our sense of self. That way we can be comfortable in our own skin and not need outside validation from others. And as hard as all of that sounds, because those are not overnight changes, there is an alignment that's happening that day that may aid us in doing so. Mercury is going to make a trine with Pluto, which can help us look at where we need to transform our mindset. It can also help us in terms of working on behavioral patterns and coping mechanisms that's preventing us from transforming. And the cool thing about this is not in the hardcore Pluto way, it's in a way of just feeling motivated to make these changes. It's in a way of feeling like, you know what, I'm ready to look at these things so that way I can deal with them, and so that way they're not baggage that I'm carrying with me for the rest of my life. A vibe like this gives us the focus needed to concentrate on hard things. And again, it doesn't have to be hard in a bad way, it could be hard in like a fun way. Sometimes complex things are fun to certain people. And some of these complex things could be doing research, getting into astrology, solving intriguing mysteries. So anything that's thought-provoking is just going to offer a lot of mental stimulation on this day. Also, this is excellent for having deep conversations, so it could be a day of discussing intriguing topics with others. Friday through Saturday bring in a plethora of Mercury activity. First, Mercury is going to enter Sagittarius, which will help us shift our communication and thinking from the serious approach of Scorpio to a more upbeat perspective. And we have a very interesting thing happening here. We have a couple of interesting things happening here with Mercury going into Sagittarius. One, Mercury happens to be in detriment in Sagittarius. Although this is a very encouraging sort of Mercury and a fun, upbeat Mercury, it does have some snags that it does run into. Gemini, the opposite of Sagittarius, is ruled by Mercury and is a sign about facts and the small details of life. Sagittarius is a big picture thinking and understanding the world based on your own personal experience. And so when these two combine, sometimes there could be moments where things get a little bit hazy. Mercury can run into some glitches when it happens to be in Sagittarius, also a few other signs. And so with this, we may have some moments under this energy. Does that mean we're not going to have any fun? Absolutely not. It's just something to be mindful of. Also, by the time we get to the 25th of this month, Mercury is going to enter pre-shadow retrograde. So we have about 2 weeks of this planet combined with this sign in its regular format. But once we get to the end of November, this planet will go pre-shadow. It'll go retrograde on the 12th of December and go direct on New Year's Day. And this retrograde is a hybrid because it's going to be in the last part of Sagittarius and going into the beginnings of Capricorn. So we've got a bit of a mixed bag. We'll have the Sagittarius energy on and off for a little bit, but of course I will give more details as we get to that point. In the meantime, let's take this next 2 weeks to really enjoy this energy in its regular format. Like I was saying earlier, Mercury in Sagittarius promotes optimism, and that's very useful currently considering the astrological weather we've had in the last month. Things have been a bit edgy, and this may take a little bit of the sting out there. That combined with Venus and Libra, and of course, like I said, Venus and Libra is going to run into its snags too. However, this brings a dose of enthusiasm into the air, and we absolutely need that. And with this, we get a considerable boost of optimism overall. And because of its optimism, this is a very confident energy. This combination may hype us up to shoot our shot when it comes down to anything that we want to achieve, any high-reaching, overarching goals that we want to obtain. We might get the urge to aim our arrow at something that we've been wanting for a while, even if we may not be qualified for it or it may not be the right time. The great thing about Sagittarius energy is it's that goal, it's that go for the gold sort of vibe. And so we take this approach of fuck it. The worst they can say to me is no. I'm going to try anyway. So a Mercury like this can have us thinking like that. Because of the hopeful approach of this combination, it'll help us feel like luck is on our side, allowing us to take action on something that we've been too hesitant about. Because of the upbeat mood that we're in, this could also help us in terms of feeling more open when it comes down to social situations. Sagittarius energy is about gathering with others, especially those who have unique perspectives other than ours. So it could be a time of sharing ideas with others, having conversations about philosophy, and other high-minded topics. But also because of the jolly tone to this, it could be about just letting your hair down and having a good time. Being a jokester, being jovial. Humor tends to get enunciated in an energy like this. So the need to exchange jokes and laugh with others is going to be more pronounced. With an energy like this, we could be thinking more adventurously. And because this is a sign of long journeys, it could be about making travel plans. It could be about coming back to something that you planned, but you had to put off in terms of travel. And even if it's not physical travel, it could be journeys of the mind. It could be losing yourself in a documentary, traveling through the mind while reading books. And And other ways, one might take a journey of the mind. Coming back to philosophy, stimulation-wise, we may be more open to philosophical topics, or exploring all kinds of theories, or even understanding some universal truth that's out there. We might also feel stimulated through other languages, writing, art, history, and religion, and metaphysical practices. An energy like this is knowledge hungry, so the need to access different forms of learning will be more pronounced than normal. And the cool thing about this is it gets us to explore different parts of our mind that we don't generally use all the time. Because an energy like this is more right brain and placed in a left brain planet, it can really help us access different forms of intellect and expand our minds through these forms of learning. Of course, there's a shadow expression to this. Anytime a planet changes signs, we're going to get the positive vibrations, but we're also going to get the lower vibrations as well. And this is no different. And even though this happens to be in detriment, it doesn't mean that this is the reason why it has a lower expression. But with this combination, we have to be aware of not seeing all the details of a situation. Mercury is a very detail-oriented planet, and with this combination, sometimes we can miss those things. So try to be aware of skimming things, especially important documents, sign-ups, memberships, anything to do with contracts, anything to do with business or work, because we might miss those small details when we're in an energy like this. Because this energy sometimes goes off of opinion rather than facts, there could be problems with that. So there may be moments where we run into people who have a little bit more of a dogmatic attitude and are operating on things based on belief rather than fact. Also, communication-wise, we need to be aware of over-exaggerating. We need to be aware of overthinking things to the point where we blow things out of proportion. And also, this could be a very blunt energy, so that's something else that we need to be aware of. Under this energy, words can be very cutting, so try to be aware of hitting below the belt. And just as Mercury is entering Sagittarius, it's making a few alignments that are a little bit uncomfortable. Mercury is going to connect with Saturn and Chiron in a complex way that may bring out a gloomier tone. This is where we were seeing some of that solitude energy popping up. We might be in our heads that day. We may feel more triggered than normal around that point in time. An energy like this tends to enunciate hardcore thinking, and this could be about thinking about grievances from the past and concentrating on other things that might be a downer. So this has a very gloomy tone as a result of this. But when we get to the next day, Mars is going to make an opposition with Uranus, and this is where I say between the Mercury and Sagittarius and the Uranus situation with Mars, some of the social stuff may pop up either way. I know that we're seeing solitude on the graph. However, energies like that may key us up to need some sort of stimulation, especially socially. So even if you're feeling that Saturn, Chiron stuff, you may be in the mood to get out. However, we will need to do this in the most constructive way possible, because when Mars and Uranus make an opposition, it can bring out our reckless side. We haven't had an alignment like this in 2 years. The last time Mars made an opposition with Uranus was around November 17th of 2021. And an energy like this is pretty dicey because it's energizing and we can feel motivated as a result. So we might feel more hyper than normal, and sometimes this antsiness leads to wanting to get out. It leads to wanting to just socialize. It leads to wanting an adventure. On the other hand, because this is dicey energy, we need to be aware of being reckless. We need to be aware of being impulsive. We also need to be mindful of our patience when it comes down to others, because this does rev up the need to rush things and maybe rush others. Also, because of the edginess of this, we might feel more agitated than normal, and that's also something else we need to be mindful of. So this could lead to belligerence and just really take on an argumentative fighting tone to it. So tempers can flare up all of a sudden out the blue with an energy like this. And this could rev up our rebellious side, especially if we feel like people are telling us what to do, resulting in reacting in a very unconstructive manner. So yeah, this week is interesting. This week is colorful, like I said earlier. But with a week like this, try to make the most of the constructive energies and work through some of the harsher tones that are going to come with this next 7 days. Anyway, I hope you all have the best week ever. Later, and see you in the next episode.